There is a very uncomfortable rule in the world of global startups.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And it's one that, I mean, a lot of founders might not really want to hear.
Right.
But the quote from our source today goes exactly like this. Quote, India is not a testing ground for businesses that are unsure whether they can afford their employees.
Wow. Yeah, that is
Not my quote.
it is a massive disruption to the usual narrative.
It really is.
Because if you are a founder listening right now, or if you work in venture capital, you are completely accustomed to the standard playbook.
Right. The usual startup life cycle.
Exactly. You get your Series A funding, you realize just how fast you're burning through cash, and you immediately look to offshore hiring to stretch your runway.
Yeah. It's almost like an automatic reflex in the industry at this point. I mean, usually when we look at business expansion and, managing a startup's balance sheet, we view it through this lens of just strategic detachment. We've talked about this before on other deep dives, where it's like playing a city-building video game or, just looking at a really complex spreadsheet.
Right, just numbers on a screen.
Exactly. You highlight a row that represents a whole department, you hit delete, and the numbers instantly update.
Yeah.
It is clean, it is quantifiable, and well, for a founder who's under immense pressure, it is completely controllable.
But our source material today just shatters that spreadsheet logic entirely.
Totally.
We are pulling from an excerpt titled Ethical Foundations for Cross-Border Hiring and Payroll Integrity.
Yep.
And the author takes a very, very aggressive stance here, arguing that when companies engage in cross-border hiring, specifically U.S. businesses hiring teams in India,
Right.
they are entering a landscape where the consequences of hitting that delete button are profound.
Yeah, this isn't, it's not a strategy guide on how to optimize time zones or navigate international tax structures.
Yes, not at all.
The author is essentially forcing the reader to examine whether a business has actually earned the right to hire globally in the first place.
Well, you're on the right. Yeah, that's exactly it.
And we should state up front, the text doesn't pull any punches.
No.
It directly condemns the practice of treating foreign markets as like a low-consequence laboratory.
Yeah.
The author refers to this as treating Indian professionals as guinea pigs for your business experiments.
It's a really heavy accusation.
It is. It really is. And to back it up, the source provides a rigorous pre-hiring checklist.
Right, the 5 questions.
Yeah, 5 critical operational questions that any U.S. business owner needs to ask before they even think about hiring offshore.
And the author insists on answering these before a single offer letter goes out.
Right, not after, before.
Exactly. So the questions are, first, is there sufficient cash flow to sustain payroll?
Okay.
2, can salaries be paid on time every single month? 3, is the business model proven enough to support the headcount? 4, can the company honor contracts, notice periods, and legal obligations?
Right.
And 5, has the company budgeted for incentives, statutory obligations, and final settlements?
Okay, let's unpack this because I have to pause here. Reading through that checklist, I am feeling a lot of friction.
Oh, I'm sure a lot of founders are.
Yeah, because if you've spent any time around startups, you know they are inherently risky.
That's the whole point.
Right. That is the fundamental premise of venture capital. A business model is almost always unproven when a company first starts hiring.
True.
They're supposed to iterate, pivot, and, if necessary, fail fast.
Fail fast. Yeah, that's the mantra.
Exactly. So if a startup in Austin or San Francisco hires locally and goes under 6 months later, that's just seen as part of the game.
Right.
People lose their jobs, and it's tough, obviously, but it's normal. So why is this cross-border dynamic uniquely highlighted by the author as this irresponsible experiment?
Well, this raises an important question, and a completely valid reaction. It gets to the core of the text's argument regarding the asymmetry of risk.
Asymmetry of risk. Okay.
Yeah. The author isn't claiming that businesses shouldn't take risks or that startups just shouldn't exist.
Right.
They are pointing out the systemic differences in what happens when that risk fails locally versus globally.
But wait, I mean, even in San Francisco, if a startup fails, the local employee loses their job.
Yes.
They have to pay their rent. They have to buy groceries. The failure is still devastating to the individual.
Of course.
So why is geography the deciding factor in whether this risk is ethical or unethical?
Because of the socioeconomic realities and the structural safety nets, or, lack thereof.
Oh, I see.
When a company hires locally, the founders and the employees are navigating the exact same cultural, legal, and economic ecosystem.
Right, they're in the same boat, essentially.
Exactly. There is a shared reality. If you lose your job in California, There's an established system of unemployment insurance. There is a local network.
Huh.
But when a U.S. employer hires cross-border, they are often navigating entirely different labor norms.
Different expectations.
Yeah, for example, look at question 4 on that checklist, the one about honoring notice periods.
Right. I remember that.
In the U.S., employment is largely at will.
Yeah, meaning you can just be let go on a Tuesday with 0 notice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in India, standard corporate notice periods are often 30, 60, or even 90 days.
Wow, 90 days. That's huge because the market operates with completely different expectations of stability.
Precisely. So when a U.S. startup runs low on funds and the VC board tells them to, cut their burn rate immediately,
They just apply the U.S. logic.
yes, they apply U.S. at-will logic to their offshore team. They pull the plug overnight.
And ignore the local norms entirely.
Right. And the author argues that U.S. employers frequently use this geographical distance to insulate themselves.
Oh, interesting.
The failure is visible and tangible if it happens in your own city. But if it happens in Bangalore while the founder is sitting in New York,
It is treated as out of sight, out of mind.
exactly, it reverts to being just a spreadsheet adjustment.
And that insulation, I mean, that creates a terrifying blind spot for what actually happens to the employee's bank account the day after that spreadsheet row gets deleted.
Oh, absolutely.
The text forces us to look past all the corporate maneuvering and just zoom in on the invisible chain reaction happening on the other side of the globe.
Yeah.
The author reminds us that behind every headcount metric is a real person making major life decisions based on the specific job offer that the U.S. employer extended.
And the source outlines the real-world mechanics of this. We really have to look at how taking a job at a foreign startup influences an employee's whole financial architecture in India.
Right, the real stakes.
The text notes that employees might resign from highly stable, established companies just to take a chance on a U.S. startup.
Oh, wow, so they're leaving a sure thing.
Yeah, and once they have that offer letter in hand, they take on entirely new financial commitments based on that promised runway.
Right. The author lists very specific financial dominoes here. They talk about employees paying EMIs, which are equated monthly installments.
Mm-hmm.
And for those who don't know, essentially, these are fixed regular payments made toward loans for a house, a car, or even major appliances.
Right, very common.
The text also brings up education fees, which in a lot of private schools in India are paid in large upfront chunks rather than just small monthly fees.
Yeah.
Furthermore, the author points out that this income is often supporting not just a nuclear family, but extended parents and children.
Right.
So they depend entirely on this single stream of income to run a multi-generational household.
And this is where the author's argument regarding the asymmetry of risk really crystallizes.
Yeah.
Because in environments where robust governmental social safety nets might not be able to just, catch a sudden fall.
Like losing a job doesn't just mean tightening your budget for a few months.
Exactly. It means immediate cascading default. It means the bank is calling about the EMI.
Wow.
It means the child's school fees cannot be met.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Looking at those cascading responsibilities, it brings a very specific analogy to mind.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
Well, if we think about the power dynamic the author is describing, it is somewhat like inviting a friend to co-sign a mortgage on a massive house that you, deep down, aren't actually sure you have the cash flow to afford.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, like you have the vision, right? But not the guaranteed funds.
Right.
But the way the contract is drawn up, when the payments come due and you decide you just want to walk away, only the friend suffers the credit hit.
Oh, man. That is painfully accurate.
Right. You get to wipe your hands clean, pivot to a new venture, and say, well, the housing market is just too tough right now.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they're the ones left dealing with the bank and potentially losing their home.
That mortgage analogy perfectly captures the disparity in consequences the source text is illustrating here.
It really highlights the unfairness of it.
It does. Because the founder holds the equity and the upside of the risk, but the offshore employee holds the devastating downside of the failure.
Exactly.
And the text sharply contrasts these real household realities with the language companies use when they abruptly pull funding.
Oh, the termination language.
Yeah.
Yeah, the author actually lists the exact phrases that U.S. startups use in these emails.
Let's hear them.
Quote, "We don't have funds. Business didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
U.S. operations are struggling. We need to reduce India headcount immediately."
It's just so clinical.
Right.
If you analyze that language, you'll notice how incredibly passive it is.
Passive, yeah.
Like, Business didn't work out, as if the business were a weather event that just happened to them, completely outside of their operational control.
Like it just rained on them.
Exactly.
And the author's response to those excuses is just unrelenting.
It is.
The text states that saying these phrases does not make the consequences disappear for the employee.
No, it doesn't.
The impact lands exactly the same, regardless of how politely the termination email is written.
But we also have to examine why management uses this language in the first place.
Okay, why do they?
Well, it isn't necessarily because founders are malicious villains, sitting in a boardroom scheming.
Right, they're not evil cartoon characters.
Exactly. The psychology behind this is driven by the sheer pressure of the startup ecosystem.
The VC pressure.
Yes. Founders are answering to venture capital boards that demand clinical, ruthless operational efficiency just to extend the company's runway.
Yeah.
So using sterile corporate speak like reduce India headcount, it acts as a psychological shield.
A shield, wow, that makes sense.
Right, because facing the household-level devastation, like knowing you just caused a family thousands of miles away to default on a loan because you miscalculated your customer acquisition cost.
That is a crushing weight.
It really is. So management relies heavily on geographical distance to create emotional distance.
Out of sight, out of mind again.
Exactly. It is much easier to tell investors you are optimizing global operations than it is to admit the human cost of your miscalculation.
Because a canceled contract is a pivot for the startup, but it is a defaulted EMI for the employee.
Precisely.
And the text refuses to let the reader look away from that direct cause and effect relationship.
No, it forces you to confront it.
Which takes us right into the final section of our source material today. The author is ultimately trying to redefine the concept of responsible leadership.
Yes.
And how modern companies handle this massive transfer of risk.
Because the author isn't living in a fantasy world here.
Right.
The text openly acknowledges the reality of capitalism. It says, verbatim, startups and businesses can fail. Revenue can fall. Clients can leave.
Yeah, business happens.
Exactly. No one is demanding that businesses guarantee lifetime employment, regardless of market conditions. Business risk is a real, unavoidable factor.
But the author is redefining what you are actually taking on when you choose to become an employer across borders. The core thesis of the entire excerpt is this. Responsible leadership means understanding that when you hire people, your business risk becomes someone else's livelihood risk too.
And that is such a powerful statement. The text is asking leaders to confront the mechanics of geo-arbitrage.
Geo-arbitrage. Can we define that really quick?
Yeah, so geo-arbitrage is a common strategy where a company capitalizes on the lower cost of living in one country to build a cheaper workforce for their headquarters, located in a richer economy.
Right.
So if you are a founder and you only view a demographic through the lens of geo-arbitrage, you fundamentally commoditize them.
You're just seeing dollar signs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you look at a team in India strictly as a 60% discount on software engineering, it makes it psychologically very easy to treat them as disposable runway padding.
Disposable runway padding. Wow.
You are no longer viewing them as human partners who are building your product.
Right.
You are viewing them as a financial lever that you can pull whenever you need to make your quarterly burn rate look better to your investors.
So what does this all mean ultimately? The source text is attempting to elevate the act of hiring from a purely financial transaction to a matter of ethical stewardship.
Yes, ethical stewardship.
The author demands that businesses internalize their risk rather than outsourcing the fallout of their failure to vulnerable workers overseas.
And the author lays out these final mandates for employers that read almost like a manifesto.
Yeah, they do.
It says, hire responsibly, pay on time, plan your runway. And the most striking line, don't build your experiment using someone else's livelihood.
That phrase completely encapsulates the ethical plea of the piece.
It really does.
Because in the standard startup world, planning your runway is just a financial best practice to keep your company alive until the next funding round.
Just business as usual.
Right, but according to this text, planning your runway is a moral imperative.
Yes.
Because if your runway